This is one of the greatest solutions I've ever heard for humankind. And this came to me from a guy who's just been thinking about reality and what we need to do to change things for ourselves. We can't wait for governments to dismantle themselves. So this is from Jennings, and I just wanted to share it with the world from one of the most powerful places on the planet. This is a manifesto for all one self-governing communities. A shared world vision is about to sweep the planet and replace the system as we now know it. Once the momentum gathers, it will be unstoppable. More and more of us are questioning the need for a system run on greed and asking what can we do to leave it behind and create a radically egalitarian new system in line with the more enlightened paradigm of human oneness. The future of our planet will not be served by an agenda of corporate consumerism, world war, and human depopulation. It's time for us instead to abandon the old system and contribute all of our diverse dreams and our visions to creating a beautiful new paradigm to live by. By turning our backs on the old system en masse, we automatically transfer all the freedom and the power we have given it back into empowering ourselves and our own communities. That power we have to make the world a loving, harmonious place is truly infinite. And it's ours, it's all ours. All one self-governing community is all about self-governance and community empowerment, embracing fundamental spiritual and ethical principles and ending our collective dependency on the system. All one self-governing community is your local alignment to a global power-sharing collective granting equal power and influence to every single citizen or person or human on the planet. It's a new concept of government in the sense that it is the opposite of top-down. There is no need for elections or politicians, no taxation ever, and it empowers 7 billion leaders. Also, it needs no centralized power base or important-looking buildings. Its power lies with the people ourselves and the universal principles that we choose to abide by. Incidentally, the implications of abiding by these principles are massive. For one, they demand we all stop paying taxes and that we cease from ethically unsustainable employment such as the armed forces, weapons, animal cruelty industries, environmental destruction such as fracking and deforestation. We stop taking people's children away from them, and we stop evicting people from their houses. We become the solution instead, and we ground ourselves in these principles. From now on, let's be clear. A law is only a recognizable law if it's ethical, if it's in line with our evolution, and if we didn't have to create it in the first place, because it was there all along. That's natural law. We must unplug from the mainstream media, which only exists to promote the sterile and dysfunctional paradigm on which the old system depended. The alternative media must also ignore the system and put its energy of publicity into publicizing and celebrating what we are doing to create a new system. It needs to focus on the choices we all must make and drawing an ethical line in the sand about that includes people employed in positions of law enforcement to the old, dying system. Under all one self-governing communities, we will end our dependency on the central banks by creating a moneyless abundance economy, which we already have. And this will expand throughout our communities. Money and greed will stop being the motivation for doing things. One thing that we need to let go of in the old economy, and that is the central banks as an absolute bottom line. They're collapsing now anyway, They are collapsing it. So we need to learn to do without it very fast. What I propose to replace it with is what I call the abundance economy. Before we get into this, I want to make it clear that we're in the experimental stages of deciding how our world is to be run. And whatever works for you in your community, your success and your failures, whatever doesn't work so well, that's for you to find out through your own all-one self-governing community. You can then share these findings with the rest of the world. These are the sorts of things our alternative news needs to focus on as this expands globally. You might decide a local economy works well by creating your own currency, but whatever form it takes, the onus must be on ending our dependency on the central banks. The old economy has to be starved out. I also believe that the whole world should unite under this one umbrella, as one single community, with no recognized divisions that offset that oneness. The idea I propose at this early stage is that each of us discovers a skill in ourselves, something we love to do that will help us to provide something essential for our community. It could be a service or a product we can provide, say making food or growing food or making blankets, fixing furniture, even sourcing free furniture. The list is endless, whatever you want to do. Instead of using money in our transactions with one another, we come to mutual agreements to exchange goods and services, arts and crafts. Say, I grow spinach and you need a table. Well, you don't want spinach. Well, we can still establish a line of credit. We could even find something else to do for each other, or you could find me something I need from another supplier. The possibilities are endless, and the result is abundance. I have termed this element of the abundance economy the services credit system. There is no external regulating body. We enter freely, voluntarily, into mutual agreements with any others within any community. Eventually this will be a global community as it spreads outwards from local areas. The abundance economy truly does create infinite abundance and is a bartering-based system. What about those in your community who don't have the means to provide services or goods due to lack of mobility or medical conditions that place huge limits on what they can provide? Well, these are the people who we go to first with our goods and services, and we expect nothing in return. After a lifetime of living lives of greed, what better way for us to expand our compassion than to do this? As for providing care to the elderly and those of limited means, I propose a system along the lines of service where each of us in the community gives up a bit of time on whatever basis we can to provide this sort of care. We can hold workshops in the community to train people in techniques they need to be of service as carers. Now, one last word on the abundance economy. I see a parallel with the way countries like France transitioned into the euro. For a while, the old currency coexisted alongside the new. It is inevitable that such a transition will take a while, but it's imperative that we establish the new economy, lay the foundations, and allow it to expand at its own pace. Incidentally, France is a country so fed up with the euro that there are now over 4,000 separate community-centered money schemes. Again, I say, find your alternative economy, whatever works for you, and align to this one global community. This involves 3 basic steps. First step, you need to start up some kind of trade or sideline, and this could be anything, as long as it is of use to others. Don't think in terms of mass production, just something that is within your means to produce, something you like to create. And then next, you need to establish a local network of people and brainstorm the kinds of things that each other need. Then, organised amongst ourselves, maybe we go to each other's houses. Ultimately, we will want to expand our list of contacts infinitely out into the community and the global world. The sky isn't the limit, maybe not even the sky. It is hoped that soon a website we will have up and running, which we can all contribute our experiences to and suggestions to. These are just a few of the proposals I offer for aligning yourself and your community with all one self-governing community. It must be run along universal principles and universal laws agreed upon by everyone the world over. Treat others how you'd like to be treated. In this way we police ourselves and transform ourselves from the inside out. We adapt to this paradigm that recognizes a higher spiritual selves and the importance of a healthy community. One starting point for transitioning from the old system to all one self-governing community is first of all to understand that the old system required us to believe that we were someone we never were, a separate, materialistic ego trapped in our skin who had to fight and compete with all the others. We must first recognize that we are not our material bodies at all. We're spiritual beings. All of us are interconnected facets of infinite, eternal consciousness. Consciousness decrees we see each other the same and all and the same. We must take a moral responsibility for the state of our individual and collective consciousness by being always present and always seeking to expand and evolve. One obvious point is that we need to simplify down to the basic needs and turn away from the mainstream media en masse. We must first turn inward. The entire universe is within you. To describe who you really are, I would first have to describe the entire universe. From there, we need to look to our community and establish all one self-governing community, locally. What we need is action informed by dialogue. We all need to have this dialogue. Every idea that comes from each of the 7 billion people on our planet helps to shape our world, and all one self-governing communities will evolve. In terms of principles, we need to establish a bottom line beyond which we will not step. I personally feel that all violence is inappropriate, and violence isn't just physical. Everything we do or say when we are not acting consciously is an act of violence. Consciousness doesn't fight or compete or undermine. It only seeks to expand spiritually to a position of higher inner bliss. For us to reclaim our infinite power, we must cease all violence or negative, oppressive thoughts or acts against others, even if it's sanctioned by our governments or our boss or our head judge or our sheriffs, policemen, whoever. We must cease all violence and negative, oppressive thoughts or acts against others. We must stop judging others. We must seek to understand instead. All one self-governing community is about human spiritual evolution, and it's time for us to now step into our power across the globe, unified by love, under the banner of all one self-governing communities, in your own language, of course, where every single child, woman, and man is loved, protected, and cared for by all others. Only we can make this happen. Next time someone tries to get you to hand over your rights to the state, say to them, "Don't you know there's a new system now? People aren't answering to those laws anymore. We have our own." Then we can give them a leaflet, we can explain, we can spread the word, we can make this highly visible. We can leaflet our streets, our communities, we can spread it every way we can. We can spread it as fast as the Arab Spring was spread by Facebook. We need to make it highly visible, and if you know someone in the police or the army or any other power position, share this with them and tell it to them. Just allow this to grow unmolested, despite your orders. Or better still, come on board with us. You can do this while you step away from what you currently do. We need you. We need everyone to join. This is humanity's only hope. It's our common purpose on this earth. And Nicholas, I know, also believes it is what we came into this world to do. So, who wants to stand in the way of that? I believe each of us is motivated by a need to reach out to others. We can find ways to spread the word, be it through leafleting, blogging, creative advertising techniques. Surely the promise of no taxation, an end to poverty, no more government weapons and interference in our lives should find some takers. Also, 100% transparency, because nobody is in control, and the individual's input in decision making will be pretty refreshing to most of us. Our new paradigm needs to be radically egalitarian. It has to appeal to the widest number of people on the planet, in all regions, all languages. It needs to have the galvanizing potential to draw 7 billion people to it. For it to be this persuasive, it needs to further our collective spiritual evolution. This has been held back for millennia by the same forces. These forces have always been unremittingly hostile towards us and extremely frightened of us. Hence the prison they've created. We are in need of a website that will create this pool of ideas, so when somebody's in a position to do this, it will be done. That will be fantastic. This site can be used to connect all of the all-one self-governing communities across the country, across the equator, and around the world. And it can be used to coordinate and synchronize leafleting campaigns, tax boycott days, zero shopping days, weeks and months. Also be prepared for a future in which there is potentially no more internet, and know that we can do just fine without it. How to start up your own all-one self-governing community? You just build a group of people around you. Start with 1, make it 5, make it 10, make it 50. And get them together to discuss how our combined services and goods can help us cut off our dependency from governments, corporations and banks. We then get actively involved in providing some of the things that are needed by others in the community. All one self-governing community doesn't need a headquarters. It simply needs people who feel ideologically inclined to align with all one self-governing community. And those who wish to get organized within their communities can start today. And many people around the world have already been living like this all their lives. Just not usually in the first world where everything comes down to money. Finally, I just want to say that all one self-governing community isn't a movement for democratic change. Instead, it's the one form of government that loves and serves you, and serves everyone, and will never be contaminated by external influences. It already exists, and now it needs everyone's cooperation to exit the old system as slowly or as quickly as you like, or you can. And then we will advance the evolution of humanity. The one thing that will speed up our transition from one way of doing things to another is for us to step into abundance in every way we can. We need to raise our vibrations massively and manifest this intention internally. A world of angry, frustrated, afraid, downtrodden people is not in its power. Don't wait for the signs that things have changed before you act. Be the change. Don't be angry and just celebrate these huge changes that are happening. Stop being scared of a future planned by others and love the present that we are manifesting through our collective decision making. Know that we will succeed because we will. And please, please broadcast positive community news on all your alternative news sites. I'm not talking about resistance, but radical social change, community and creativity building. Deny the old system its voice by ignoring it. But do this with love and understanding in your heart for those people who have sought to enslave you throughout all. After all, you would be equally desperate after thousands of years of subjugating humanity. Lean away from the darkness into the light. Seriously, who cares enough about the old system's laws to enforce or obey them or report them anymore? There's a new system here now. Thanks for listening. Love to you all. So that was the letter I got from Nicholas Jennings. That's the greatest solution I've ever heard in my lifetime. That's why I wanted to bring it here, to this place, to share it with you. Start today. Start talking, start thinking, start creating, start selling, start swapping. Any way you can. If you have a service and you're still taking money, that's fine. If you only barter and you don't, it's fine. I know Nicholas too, envisage a day where we will be able to use our barter points and our trade points that we establish with each other to buy airline tickets, to buy houses. Because this is how things have always been in nature. And it's never been natural for 1% of 1% of 1% of us to own the rights to this substance that we trade with. If we buy an apple, some percentage of that trade goes to the families who print the money. And like I always say, I don't mind if one family or a cartel, a small cartel of families can print all the money of the earth and lend it to governments of interest, as long as it's my family. But of course that's not true, because I would never want to subjugate the people of the world for my own empowerment, because I'm already empowered. I'm always in the palm of Allah, God, nature. A grain of sand or a leaf are as much God as me and you, and we're all here together to share in this infinite, eternal abundance. So let's do what we can. Start today. Spread the word. If you liked this idea, please pass this video on. And underneath the video, we're going to have a website where you can connect with us, and we're going to have anything that we can relate to this. Please join us. Please put your names down underneath our video if you want to join, if you want to start this up in your community, if you already have a barter system, if you already trade with people. Please tell us, send us a video in, link it to this address, and we'll collect them all. We'll make a documentary, and we'll all talk about how we stepped away from government starting 2014 as the global community that we really already are. Thank you so much for listening. I love you all too. Salut.